Georgia Tech, Virginia, SMU are the unbeatens at one loss. Pitt, Duke, Louisville, Cal, Miami. A lot of ACC football to be played for Miami. They've only played 2 conference games so far. And a lot of football left, though, for Georgia Tech, sitting at 4-0 in league play, 7-0 overall. The Jackets and Brent Key are rolling through conference play, and now really excited to bring on our next guest here. Got Mr. Chad Bishop joining the show. Chad, thanks so much for the time, man. Good to see you first and foremost. How are things over there in Atlanta?
Hey, man, things are good. Weather's nice. It's, in the 70s and cool at night. And apparently I got a top 7 football team on my hands to cover. So here we are.
I feel like you're in my position of last year, where all of a sudden SMU reeled off of a few wins in ACC play, and people are like, "Oh man, there's a chance here. This is going to be something." And that's been it from the get-go with Georgia Tech. I know expectations are high there. Brent Key keeps those expectations high. He keeps those players, certainly under a microscope as far as what they expect from them day in, day out. But this is off to such a good start for them. They've got to be feeling really good. I'm sure Brent Key is finding ways right now to keep these players a little eye on the ball as things start to get into that point where they're probably going to be a top 10 team.
Yeah, it's been really interesting to watch from my perspective. You look at Georgia Tech's schedule and you pinpoint that Wake Forest game, and once they got over that hump, playing at Wake Forest, winning that game in overtime, it just seems like there's been a looseness with this bunch. I know it's only been a couple games since then, but it seems like that was almost like a sigh of relief. Like maybe that was our quote unquote one letdown game. And they've been refocused coming out of a bye week after that, and handled Virginia Tech and went on the road and beat a really, really good Duke team. But there's almost a sense of like, all right, we're a really good football team. We're top 10. We're undefeated, all that stuff. Let's go play, see what happens. We know we're a good team. We got a great quarterback, and we can't really control the outcome. So let's go prove to everyone that we deserve this, that we are a top 10 team. And they certainly showed that Saturday at Duke with scoring 20 unanswered points and pulling away from a good Blue Devils team. And they're sort of embracing this role of, hey, not the underdogs anymore. Everybody's coming to beat Georgia Tech, and they've handled that well so far.
You could look at this win over Duke, and certainly you see the impressiveness of being able to roll through what they did and score those 20 unanswered. But any red flags for you off of some of that, and just kind of where the game kind of started and was heading at some points, with the way Duke was, in position to really make that a game where, I mean, Manny Diaz and his staff got to be feeling like they let one slip away too.
Yeah, I don't know if they're red flags. The term I've been thinking about is nonsensical. A lot of the ways Georgia Tech has been winning hasn't made a lot of sense. Like, you go back to Colorado and turn the ball over 3 straight times to open the game and won that one. Up 13-0 on Clemson, up 21-14 on Clemson, blew those leads and won that one. Down 20-3 at Wake Forest and won that one in overtime. Down 10-7 to Duke in the third quarter and won that one. Their rush defense is now last in the ACC. The pass defense, not great, but they're only giving up 20 points a game. Their turnover margin is -2. That doesn't make any sense, and they're still winning. So to me, it's just they're finding ways to win. Now, the pessimist would say, well, at some point, the averages are going to average out, and the bottom's going to fall out, and they're going to lose one of these close games. But they haven't, right? They keep finding a way. They keep figuring it out. Whether they need to pass the ball, they'll pass it. If they need to run it with Haynes King 20 times, they'll run it. If they need to give up 300 passing yards to Duke's Darian Mensah, they'll do it, and they'll keep the Blue Devils out of the end zone. So they're really finding different ways to win week in and week out. The stats don't make a whole lot of sense when it comes to this team outside of their rushing attack, which is their calling card. Again, they're just finding ways to win, and I've seen opponents expose them, and it really hasn't fazed them, and they've continued to roll.
They get Syracuse at home this week. Then they go at NC State, at Boston College after a bye, Pitt at home, and then finish up with Georgia. I mean, college football parity is real.
Yeah.
Now that they've navigated the way they have through this schedule so far. I mean, this is where they've got to keep that eye on the ball. But good enough for them. They've got Haynes King at quarterback. I mean, a guy who is quickly becoming a legend, I'm sure, over there in Georgia Tech circles. He comes from a legendary high school family, of course, here in Texas, Longview High School, and he embodies what they want as a program. That toughness, that backs against the wall every single day, counting us out, kind of all the cliches. But he continues to deliver. It's been so cool for us to at least watch it from over here and seeing what he's put together and knowing his background and where he comes from. Do you see him starting to, kind of see that, look at this legacy that, leaving here in this stop?
I think he's trying not to.
Yeah.
I imagine it's difficult. I mean, we were on the sidelines Saturday joking with a few colleagues. Every national writer at this point is sort of written the same story about Haynes King being the toughest human on the history of the face of the earth, the toughest football player ever known to man, and his backstory with his dad being a high school football coach there in Longview and how tough he was on Haynes and Haynes's injury past and how he's overcome all that. But you're right. I mean, he does embody what Georgia Tech football is. They've joked that he's an offensive lineman in a quarterback's body. I mean, he just goes out there and does the dirty work and refuses to lose. But, he did that in high school. When he was a junior in high school, he led Longview to a state title, right? Like he knows how to win. He's been a winner his whole life, and he's been tough his whole life. And Georgia Tech goes as he goes. And luckily for them, he stayed healthy in 6 out of 7 games. He's continued to run the ball on an exceptionally high level. He doesn't get a lot of credit for his passing game, but he continues to be one of the best passers in the country when it comes to completion percentage, doesn't turn the ball over. I mean, there's, people sort of tongue in cheek say Haynes King for Heisman, but if they continue to win and he continues to put up numbers both in the passing game and the rushing game, and there's no doubt in my mind that he at least deserves to be in that conversation, right? Like, does he win it? I don't know if the numbers are going to be gaudy enough, but if the kid takes Georgia Tech to a 12-0 record, at quarterback as a 3-year starter, that there's something to be said for that. So if you haven't seen him play, tune in and watch. I mean, he's a lot of old school quarterback, runs the ball a lot, sort of like a Tim Tebow, Eric Crouch sort of combo, right? And just a great kid, man, just down to earth and humble and been fun to cover for sure.
Brent Key and the way he's built this roster, can you kind of pull the curtain back a little bit? I mean, they lose Eric Singleton in the offseason. That seemed like a major deal, of course. And he goes to Auburn, he gets a bunch of money. Good on him. And he's a spectacular player, but they've just kept on rolling. I mean, what is his mindset on building the roster, transfer portal? I know Akilo Stone has been a nice add, those type of things that they've been able to do to really position themselves to be in this spot.
Well, Brent Key loves recruiting first and foremost, right? Loves high school recruiting. His relationships across the state of Georgia and Alabama are just, almost second to none. I mean, he recruits nonstop, right? You got to have that. So he's never going to deviate away from high school recruiting. And you look at some of his defensive players this year, I mean, you can see that. And then if you look at some of his offensive linemen, you can see that as well. But what Brent Key also loves is sort of the Moneyball aspect. I mean, he's admitted he's read that book a million times. He loves the NFL draft. He loves seeing how NFL teams build their rosters. And he sort of takes pages out of those books and say, all right, here's my high school recruiting. Here's how I supplement out of the portal. Here's all my returners. How do I mesh all these guys together? And you look at this year's team. You mentioned Eric Singleton leaving at wide receiver. Well, they went and got Eric Rivers and Dean Patterson at wide receiver. You look at the defensive front. You have A.J. Hoffler from Clemson and Akilo Stone from Ole Miss. In the secondary, Jai Gilmore from Georgia State, Daquan White from Eastern Michigan, John Mitchell from Penn State, Savion Riley from Colorado. So it's all encompassing, right? And they take their NIL budget and whatever money they have, they deviate it around to build what now looks like a championship roster. So it's not 60 transfers. It's not, 80 high school kids. It's a really, really good mixture. And Brent Key, he jokes he loves Excel. So he loves getting out his spreadsheet and seeing, what the depth chart looks like and where the money's allocated. And clearly has done a masterful job going into this year of building this roster and supplementing the talent and the depth, which has been huge for this team. As guys have gone down, other guys have stepped right in. So yeah, he's done a masterful job, at least for this 2025 season.
I am not asking this to stir anything up. So let me be very clear.
Stir away. Stir it up.
I think Brent Key is one of the crown jewels of this league. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
He's his alma mater, Georgia Tech. He is where he is. I'm sure other schools are looking at him saying, forget that he is at his alma mater. He is a great football coach.
Sure.
I want to see him lead our program. Like fit and culture perspective, probably Penn State, right? Like that is just a guy that I feel like would fit up there. I don't think he will leave, but there are some major jobs coming open. How is Georgia Tech and Ryan Alpert, starting to maybe address some of those things, maybe internally, and keep him right where he is?
I'm sure if they haven't already, they will. I mean, Georgia Tech has shown really at this point an outstanding investment in football in recent years. They've increased the athletic budget overall. There's a new facility in the end zone at Bobby Dodd Stadium. There are renovations coming to Bobby Dodd Stadium soon. Brent Key's assistant salary pool has gone up. I mean, not only did he get a contract extension last February, but his offensive coordinator, Buster Faulkner, got one as well. I never say never in this business, and I harken back to the days when I covered Western Kentucky and Willie Taggart was at his alma mater, and folks thought there's no way he's leaving his alma mater, and he goes to USF, right? And I'm not saying the situations are similar, but you just never know. I mean, Brent Key's from Alabama. What if an Alabama or an Auburn comes open, right? Like, all it takes is someone throwing a massive pile of money at a guy. And Brent Key's been honest about it. I mean, he talked about it last week. Like, if it comes to that, he'll talk to his team about it. He's told his team, like, those guys are going to get in the transfer portal and take some money elsewhere and do it best for their family. So, yeah, on paper, I mean, why would Brent Key leave? It's Atlanta. It's his alma mater. He's building this thing. I mean, he loves Georgia Tech to death, but you just never know, right? And so I think for right now, I'd be incredibly shocked if Brent Key was not the Georgia Tech football coach for the near future. But you never say that, or you just never know. I do think Georgia Tech will start to scrounge up the money and put a package together to make sure he stays. To your point, I'm sure his agent will float his name out there for all these places to try to help bankroll that next paycheck. But Brent Key clearly is super happy where he is, super happy to be a Yellow Jacket. I definitely would expect him to stay in town for the short term at least. But, again, we never know. So we'll see what happens.
Let's get your take on the ACC Championship picture. Georgia Tech, Virginia, SMU, now the only unbeatens in the league. Of course, Miami hanging around, Louisville hanging around. Those are kind of my five that I'm watching really closely. Yeah. What's your take on where the ACC Championship game is going to look like here in, month and a half or so?
Yeah, I'm prepared for chaos. I think we all should be, right? Like, I think a couple weeks ago, what's the tiebreaker if there's like 4 undefeated? Well, what's the tiebreaker if there's like 5 2-loss teams, right? Or 4 1-loss teams? I mean, this conference is so massive, and it seems like it's worked out to where like nobody plays each other. Georgia Tech doesn't play Louisville, SMU, Miami, right? They don't play any of those teams, right? I mean, Duke's got a pretty manageable schedule the rest of the way. So does Virginia. Georgia Tech doesn't play any of the teams at the top of the conference. They've already knocked off Clemson, who's out of it. I mean, right now you'd have to think that Georgia Tech and Virginia are the favorites on paper because of what they have in front of them and what they've done to this point. But as you open the conversation, there's so much parity. I mean, Georgia Tech almost lost at Wake Forest. Louisville just went down to Miami and won. Stanford beat Florida State. I mean, week in and week out, the games you think there's no way that team is going to lose or there's no way that team can win, that's exactly when those upsets happen or those eyebrow-raising results happen. So, I mean, I don't know. We're about, halfway through the ACC schedule at this point. At least Tech is. Right now it looks like Tech and Virginia, but 2 weeks from now it could be, SMU and Louisville, or SMU and Miami back in the mix. So, it's very exciting. I guess maybe the positive of a massive conference is there's still so many teams left in the race, even the 1-loss teams. I mean, shoot, even the 2-loss teams, if you finish 6-2, you got to think there's an outside chance that you could be in it on that final weekend. So it's going to be crazy, man. It's going to be exciting. And, from Georgia Tech's perspective, if they take care of business, they have nothing to worry about. And really at this point, even if they drop a game, they might not have anything to worry about. So it's just, we'll see how it goes the rest of the way. Exciting to watch. And, man, I can't wait for this month of November. It's going to be wacky. I can guarantee you that.
Does Georgia Tech win the ACC championship? Let's get you see, right now. We're not going to hold you to it. We're going to bring you back. Don't worry. But
the championship game, if they get there, I think they do. Okay. Now will they get there? Again, I don't know. Their schedule on paper is easy. They're going to be favored in a lot of these games, even on the road at NC State, probably at home against Pittsburgh. So it looks like their path is clear. So, if they can get there, I think there's not a team in this conference they can't beat. They've proven that over the last couple of years and this year. Now, what happens the rest of the way? Do they slip up? Does SMU and Virginia stay undefeated? Do they get locked out with one loss? I don't know. But I think if Georgia Tech can get there, they'll be able to get the job done.
Yeah, I think so. At this point, they are looking like a team of destiny. We'll see. A lot more chaos to come in this ACC race. Chad Bishop, thanks so much for joining us at Mr. Chad Bishop on Twitter. You're the man. Have a great Monday. We appreciate it.
See you. Bye.